farm in the Rhine Valley, and aged 15 began to ask some deep philosophical questions that she knew she couldn't answer if she stayed at home. So she flitted her wings, found her own path, and very long story short, ended up in Israel, where she studied fine arts at the Avni Art Institute in Tel Aviv. Naturally, she's a highly accomplished artist, and she even had her own exhibition at the Department of Culture and Art in Tel Aviv. A complete solo exhibition called Passion of Colours. And as you will see from behind Dorit, they're just amazing. The most beautiful. So she's also exhibited in Germany and the US. I've got a lot of feedback there. On top of that, she's also an award-winning author. She wrote the novel Girls Don't Ride Motorbikes, a spiritual adventure into life's labyrinths. I urge you to read it. It's a real treat. In the book, she travels the US cross-country from labyrinth to labyrinth, and the stories are all woven together intricately, and it gives you an insight to reflect on your own spiritual journey. A really good read. 30 years ago, while still in Israel, she discovered reflexology, graduated from the Mahut College for Complementary Medicine, excuse my pronunciation, and has been practicing and teaching the therapy ever since. She started her career in the US at the University of Pittsburgh Medical Center's Center for Integrative Medicine in the team of Dr. David Servan-Schreiber. She's now based in Pittsburgh, but owns and runs the Brauer Institute for Holistic Medicine. She's trilingual, German, Hebrew, and English, as if everything else wasn't enough. Tonight, she will be lecturing us on holistic reflexology, ancestral strength, and the power of strong roots. Dorit, a very warm welcome, and over to you.
Well, thank you so much, Maria. Beautiful introduction, and I'm really, really excited to be here. And it's not so much a lecture. I view it more as an interactive conversation with fellow reflexologists. We're all professionals. I assume we all see clients and work with people, and you know, just love this work. And Maria, when we had our first conversation to test also the Microsoft Teams, which I'm not so familiar with, I usually use Zoom. So we'll see how it goes. But, you know, I feel we all have to be a little nuts to choose a profession to touch people's feet for a living. Because trust me, if anybody would have told me in my early 20s, when I was going to art school in Tel Aviv, that would be my profession and that I would also be very passionate about teaching it, I would have said, absolutely not, no way. And I kind of stumbled upon reflexology in Tel Aviv. I, in my early 20s, practiced a lot of yoga, was introduced to energy healing and energy medicine. I studied bioenergetic healing with Rafi Rosen in Tel Aviv, and it was hands-on work and also distance healing. I don't know what's popular in Britain. I know in the US we have a lot of Reiki, and nurses practice therapeutic touch. But in Israel we also have the bioenergetic healing, so that's my background. And then I learned about reflexology, and I felt it was fantastic because it would add the physical touch, and I could also do a lot of energy work through the feet, and it's a very different concept, obviously, than massage. And so I studied reflexology really only for my own personal interest, to understand how everything works in the body. And during my certification program, we had to see a lot of clients, and then we had a graduation work. And also already 30 years ago, reflexology became very well integrated in the healthcare system in Israel. So during our graduate works, like everybody's clients or patients were getting better. So I figured it would always be a part of my career. So in '98, I came to Pittsburgh and I started out at the Center for Integrative Medicine at the University of Pittsburgh Medical Center, which was really fantastic. And also, if you want to write in the chat, or you can also raise your hand, I will be happy to have a conversation, because I also would like to listen to your questions, thoughts, feedback, ideas you have, and how you approach your work. So feel free to chime in at any time of the conversation. So a really important part of my past was also the aspect of finding the identity of my roots. As a German from the Lower Rhine Valley, my parents were the children of World War II, which, if you're a certain age, our families all have a similar trauma. And in Germany, there's a psychotherapist, or he passed away, Bert Hellinger. And I think in English you say Hellinger. Anybody familiar with this work? I had the great privilege to study with Bert Hellinger himself in Germany, and I also studied with Stefan Hausner, Heinz Stark. I'm saying these names, maybe it rings any bells. If anybody's familiar with their work, please put it in the chat so I can see if you're familiar with it. And the principle is really that every single human being, as we go through our life experience here on Earth, we are not only seen as individuals, but we are influenced by the traumas of our ancestors and our families. If there are war scenarios, which is the case for a lot of us, if we go just like 5, 6, 7 generations back, and unfortunately with what we see going on in the world right now, a lot of new generations are coming in who do have a lot of trauma from war, and that will affect the next 7 generations. So Bert Hellinger, in his trauma family constellation work, goes back generally up to 7 generations and says if there's a significant trauma in the family system, it will affect the next 7 generations in a positive or in a negative way. Native Americans say that we have to be very careful with our deeds and everything we do in this lifetime, because it will affect the next 7 generations into the future, into a positive or into in a negative way. So it's really important to become aware of that. And the concept that we see our ancestors through the feet I was introduced to that during my studies in Israel. And very generally speaking, we can see our relationships to our inner self and also to our parents just by looking at the soles of the feet. So generally speaking, the right side of the body is the father, the male aspect of the personality, and also our interaction with the outside world. The left side of the body is the female aspect of the personality, and the mother or any type of mother figures in a person's life. We have different organ systems through which we can also read and understand the gifts of our ancestors, especially the kidneys. They are located, the kidney reflexes are located in the water element. And what's also really fascinating, what I always tell my students in different cultures, we have different reflexology maps, because also different cultures process information differently. However, I think every reflexology map I've ever seen, they all agree on the kidney reflexes. So that is really fascinating. They are located in the water element, the aspect of the emotions of the human being. And the kidneys also connect us to the gifts of our ancestors, and they're also super sensitive to trauma. And when I do a foot analysis or a foot reading, I'm also always really interested in, is one kidney reflex sensitive and the other is not, and vice versa, because that also tells a story. And then in combination with different reflexes like the pituitary gland reflex, we kind of put the pieces of the puzzle together of what might be going on with the client in the present moment. And we know as somebody is ready to embark on the healing journey, everything can shift at an instant. So in my method of reflexology, I also incorporate a lot of consciousness work, a lot of awareness, a lot of like questions to move people forward in life. Does this make sense so far? Okay, and the most important the time when I really first recognized this was after graduation. I had a client in Tel Aviv, Israel, and so I had learned about the difference between the left and the right side, and I'd already seen quite a bit of feet, and you notice the differences in the lines, the texture, the color, the calluses. I saw a gentleman for reflexology, and I looked at the soles of his feet, and it was as if those feet belonged to two absolutely different people. They were like nothing alike. So the right foot was very calloused, very rough, even a little bit bigger in size. You know, people sometimes have different sizes of feet, so that's also very interesting to look at. And the left side of the foot was much softer, more sensitive to the touch. And the story of this gentleman to whom these feet belonged, he was an African American man who had moved to Israel for a religious group that he was attending. And he was raised without his father. So he was raised by his mom and his grandmother, and he had no relationship to his dad. And so we could really see that in the feet. And that was the first time I really started paying attention to this. And then later on, as I also studied the Bert Hellinger work, the family constellation and ancestral healing, the more knowledge I gained, the more I always thought like these pieces of the puzzle confirmed through what I was reading through the feet. So, hey, I have my pile of things I want to discuss here, and I'm gonna take a look at it, and I'll read a little bit through it, but also again, if you have questions, please put them in the chat. I'll be happy to answer. I would love for this to be a little bit more interactive. So what's important to understand also about ourselves as practitioners of reflexology is like, what do we bring to the table and how do we touch another human being? And I really feel that we can only take as our clients as far as we have done our own inner work. And I'm sure as you do, like you love further education and learning more, because once you touch a human being, it's just so fascinating. And that's what I've been doing this work for more than 30 years, because it's like one of the most amazing professions, I feel. And again, we touch the most hidden part of the human being. Most people are not connected to their feet. You know, most people have a lot of judgments about their feet. A lot of people never walk barefoot. I mean, so it's really interesting. We can really learn a lot by touching another human being, and in a way, through that, we also learn about ourselves. I feel when I sit in a person's energy field for an hour or an hour and a half, and I only work on the feet. So I know there are different methods of reflexology. I was trained in the reflexology that's covered in Israel. It's only on the feet. I feel it's also the most powerful place, and it's also where the human being is most vulnerable, because again, it's the most hidden part of the body in most cases, and we can really read what's going on in a person's soul through the feet. So it takes a lot of trust, which means for me as a reflexologist to be also in a place of inner peace, of absolute clarity. And my goal is to touch another human being only with love. So really from the highest level. And this love also comes from a place when I have my lineage behind me. If I feel strong in my life, if I feel I am loved, if I feel I belong, and the three questions that really affect every single human being and can explain the drama of the world is the question like, how does somebody belong? I mean, those are the most important yearnings of every human being: to be loved, to be seen, and to belong. And I feel if we do holistic work, we need to figure that out for ourselves first, so that we are at peace and we have a higher level of love in touching a human being. So for me, literally, when I touch somebody, and I shortly will guide you through a nice meditation. It's also, I have a YouTube channel. It's also available on my YouTube channel, but you'll also have this available then in this recording. And that's a grounding meditation where I connect to the earth, but also where I connect to the ancestors. And then everything literally starts with mom and dad, and that's how we go through life. How we were received in our family system, how our parents related to each other. In case of adoption, also, I've worked with a lot of people over my 30-year career who were adopted, and sometimes it's not possible to trace a lineage, but metaphysically, we're all connected to our lineage through which we received the gift of life. So our bloodline. So in case of adoption, I suggest also to clients to make up a story why they were given away. And I had one client, she loved this exercise so much, and she came up with a narrative of her parents being in a traveling circus and they couldn't take care of her. And she became a mother shortly after we did this work together. And she changed her narrative of being given away and the natural sense of abandonment that people have when they're adopted into like her strengths. And it was like, okay, my parents, it wasn't a bad thing, it was a good thing. And then also shortly after she got pregnant for the first time and had a family of her own. So, you know, it's really important to pay attention to the personal narrative, the stories people tell themselves. And my objective with my work is really to get somebody into their maximum strengths. And yeah, empowered living. Does that make sense so far? Is anybody in this particular group here adopted? I just want to check in because then I would say a few more words. Would you please put that in the chat? And I will look for that. And let's see, what else do I need to say about this? So really the most important relationship is your relationship to your parents. That defines everything of how we move through life. And in cases where you know, the childhood was difficult or traumatic, in the systemic family constellation work, we always say our parents gave us the most important gift. That is the gift of life. That's all we needed. And if they took care of us, they fed us, they gave us clothing, they educated us, that's all so much more to be grateful for. But if somebody has a lot of trauma and that wasn't the case, the most important thing is always that you received the gift of life through your parents. And thank you. Somebody responded, I'm adopted myself, but I work a lot with people who are adopted or fostered. Thank you very much, Jane. That's very helpful. I will talk a little bit more about that then also after we do the meditation. And for anybody adopted in this group, during the meditations that I guide you through, really try to connect to the lineage of your birth parents, your mom and your dad. And oftentimes what I've also seen with trauma is sometimes people cannot connect to their parents, but they can connect to their grandparents or their great-grandparents in the lineage. And that can also be a resource. So the most important thing is to be resourced. And what's amazing also when I do this work with people, sensitivities on their feet start shifting immediately. So you can have somebody with extremely sensitive kidney reflexes, very sensitive to the touch. And after a few sessions of doing ancestral work, all these sensitivities start to go away. And as we all know, the most important thing of our work is that we focus on preventative medicine. Ideally, people come to us before they get sick. That's unfortunately not always the case with the medical system. I don't know how it is in Britain. I think you're so much more advanced when it comes to research, when it comes to being integrated in the medical system. And Maria, can I just ask you about that? I'll just pick you out because we had the conversation. In Britain, it's true, right? You're more integrated in the medical system with your work as a reflexologist. Are you covered by health insurance like Israel?
No, we're not. we're trying to work towards that, but at the moment, no, we're still on the outside. We do a lot of relaxation work for GP surgeries and some hospices and things like that. But at the moment, we're not fully integrated. It's improving, but we're getting, I would say we're getting to be more and more accepted, which is only a good thing. Yeah.
Yes, and I think you also have so much more research coming out of
Yes.
Britain. In the
We
US, when I worked at the hospital, we tried to get funding for a research study in 2001, and it was declined in the end because no scientific research had been done prior in the US about reflexology. And the very first study came out in 2010, and that was in a study about reflexology and oncology treatments. So
we do have quite a lot of studies, and some of the speakers we've had on have been part of that. So there's plenty going on. The vertical reflexology is the one I'm thinking about. They had a lot of research done and a lot of positive feedback from that. And I think you'll find in this country a lot of oncologists and cancer workers will readily accept any help they can possibly get from a qualified reflexologist. So things are looking up, definitely. It's a growing profession. There just aren't enough of us.
Good. It's important. And I see a raised hand from Rakhi. Do I say your name correctly? Yes, please.
Yes. Yeah. Hi. So, no, I just wanted to share with you that once a week I actually go to University of London College. I work as a volunteer in a hospital, and it's quite rewarding working on the patients. And also, in fact, the nurses there, the doctors, they see me regularly, and they also, in fact, they've had reflexology. And they do feel the difference after the session, and they do come back to me. So it feels good, but unfortunately, yeah, it's not like we're not under NHS, but like what Maria said, that they are slowly, I think it's getting there. Hopefully, we get in soon.
Great. Yeah, we all have to keep this positive vision. So I think it's very important. Yeah, great. Thank you for sharing. And somebody else said, my mom is adopted. Julia, thank you. And in case of your mom being adopted, also you in the meditation, you can imagine the lineage of your mom standing behind her. Even if you don't know them, I mean, as soon as we go like 3 generations back, I don't know my ancestors. I just found out last year that I have ancestry in the US, and I'm here for 26 years now. And that's from my dad's lineage going back to 1860. And I just found that out last year. And I'm sure my dad didn't know that he had family that moved to the US, but that just tells us a little bit more about the mystery why I might have ended up here. So I think that it's just so fascinating. And also, when we do the meditation, contemplate how many people in your lineage, how many of your ancestors may have been healers or even may have been reflexologists. In my current reflexology training, which graduates October 23rd, and my courses go over the course of a year, I have weekly lessons of 4 hours, quite a bit of homework. So it's a very intense training. And one of my current students, Leslie Kovman, after she signed up for this program and she began to tell her family, she learned that she has an ancestor in her lineage who was a reflexologist. So imagine her surprise. So in some cases you might not know, but if you go a few generations back, imagine how many of your ancestors may have been healers, may have been reflexologist. In my previous training, one of my graduates, her lineage actually goes back to the Salem witches in the US. So that is also, I mean, if people know their lineage, it's really interesting. And if I look at myself in my own life, I've always been able to see energy fields and auras. And my dad was able to do that. Just he was from a generation 1929 where it was like he didn't even know what was going on with him. And when I was studying all of this and also learned to read auras during my training in Israel, he's like, I don't know why you want to learn that. Like nothing good is going to come out of it. But now we are here all these years later, decades later, and we also now a lot of these things that even 26 years ago when I came to the US were not really accepted. Now it's becoming pretty much mainstream. Like everybody meditates, everybody has a meditation app on their phone. People know about chakras, people know about auras or auras in English. So it's not like this strange world anymore. And I think that's also really fantastic that this is moving on. And yes, Maria, you're saying the genetics are there. Yes. Okay, a few more things I would like to give you as a food for thought before we move into the meditation. I would like to read a quote from you by Linda Hogan, and she's a Native American writer. You may have heard this before. It's a pretty popular quote. And I really want you to take that into your heart, because just imagine all your ancestors behind you. Imagine they were only love. So in our meditation, we really connect to the highest selves of our ancestors and not to the human drama, not to the wars, not to the things that may have happened in the physical, but really the highest self. And Linda Hogan writes, walking, I am listening to a deeper way. And suddenly all my ancestors are behind me. Be still, they say, watch and listen. You are the result of the love of thousands. So really imagine this love. You have this lineage standing behind you. And also if we just begin to look at the sheer numbers. So if you go like 3 generations back, in that generation, there are 8 ancestors, but all together with your parents and grandparents, you have 14 ancestors standing behind you. But you go 6 generations back, you already have 126 ancestors standing behind you. And once we go to the 9th or 10th generation, I mean, there are literally thousands of ancestors standing behind you. So just imagine all these different lives, all these different destinies that had to meet in order for you to sit here and enjoy your life. I mean, if you really begin to look at it, you can only be in awe. And what I try to teach with my work, and also what I feel I like to bring to my work, is really when I touch another human being and I said, like, our utmost and highest task is to touch another human being with love. And then I have my lineage behind me, and then imagine the lineage of hundreds. And then again, 9th generation, 10th generation, we're looking at thousands of people and their different destinies. And I'm touching that by sitting in a person's energy field for an hour or an hour and a half, and by having literally the privilege to touch the most hidden part of their body, their feet. I mean, you can only be in awe, like doing this work. Do you feel that when you do this work? I mean, Maria and I, we had the conversation. It's like, yeah, how did we get into these careers, touching people's feet? It was completely unintentionally. I mean, again, if somebody would have told me, and now I'm doing it for more than 30 years, and I feel it's the most sacred thing on the planet. Also, we receive our life force from both of our parents and their lineages. So very important also to pay attention to, and we'll get to that after the meditation, is where a parent is excluded, for example. We see that oftentimes in cases of divorce, so children don't have access to both parents, and that creates very difficult scenarios. And even if there is not a, let's say, a physical solution where physically it also might not be safe to reconnect to one parent, but metaphysically it's possible. And there always needs to be that place in the heart. And if we can hold that space for our clients, then after a while they might tune in, and it really might open also for them. Does that make sense? All right, let's see. That I've so much more to say.
Sorry to interrupt, but
yeah.
Sarah obviously has a client who has a really traumatic upbringing. she's just asking for a little bit of help on someone who can't create their own happy story. Have you got any advice there?
Yeah, fake it. like literally, like my client who I told you was adopted. She desperately tried to do research and find her birth parents, and she couldn't. And she was raised by wonderful adoptive parents. But I asked her, what would be your fantasy story about what your parents were, who they
Circus.
were? And that's where she came up with, they were in a traveling circus. And that was her empowering story where she changed her personal narrative. And yeah, that is a really complex subject. And I would like, who asked the question, please, Maria? I'm going to take a note.
Sarah. It was Sarah.
Sarah. Okay, I would like to answer that at the end of this talk.
Yep.
After we've gone through some of the subjects that I would like to address, so then it might make more sense. And children born from sperm and egg donation who don't know their parents, that's a really big one too. Metaphysically, though, we know, because it's working on us. Whatever happened in our lineage affects us in a positive or negative way. So generally, my experience of working with people who are adopted or don't know the parents, there's automatically the sense I'm not good enough, and abandonment issues, and issues with like embracing love fully, like not trusting life and not trusting love, which can lead to many different scenarios. Sometimes we can never retrieve the information, and that's where the personal narrative becomes so important, where we develop healing images. And in such a case, I would also say to a parent, to a client, imagine your ideal scenario, the best possible case, why this could have happened. And if someone has a lot of trauma, I mean, I'm teaching 200 hours on this subject. So if somebody has a lot of trauma, we also look, what do I learn from it? And how does it affect how I go through the world? And I do have a subject, I'll take a note, sexual abuse, because I worked throughout my career a lot with women who were sexually abused. And I have that in my section about energetic protection, and how also for you as a holistic or as a reflexologist to always be in a safe place. And we look for a certain narrative in our clients in order to see if it's a good candidate for our work. But that's a whole different subject. If you allow me, I will, we have plenty of time. We'll come back to that, because I definitely want to answer that. Children conceived by rape, yes, that is a really, really difficult subject. And here again, we take the concept, I accept life exactly the way it came to me. It was not a good scenario, but that's how life came to me. I take this life and make the best out of it. And so here are already much bigger questions than we can address in this presentation with reflexology and ancestral strengths. These are really tough cases. Yeah. And sometimes
I think I can see another lecture coming on in the future.
Yes,
maybe,
please.
yes, yeah. I mean, so okay, well, let's see what else I have. There's a beautiful quote also by Thich Nhat Hanh, and he says, all our ancestors and all future generations are present in us all the time. Happiness is not an individual matter. As long as the ancestors in us are still suffering, we can't be happy. And we will transmit their suffering to our children and their children. That is also why for us as professionals in the world of healing, and yeah, it's so important to do our own inner work. And I thank you all for your questions. I already have so many examples floating around in my brain. So first we'll do the meditation. and then we'll address them one by one. Is everybody ready? We'll just do a little meditation. I also will do a connection with the core to the earth. So we connect to the earth first, visualize ourselves as strong and healthy trees. And that's also the imagery that I teach my students to hold while they administer reflexology. So we are always in a meditative state of mind. Also in my method of reflexology, we don't speak with the client. We want them to get into the alpha wave level activity of the brain. So I often guide my clients, well, often every time, guide my clients through specific meditation, often also tailored to their needs, what's going on in their lives. And also, as you in a certain brainwave level activity, as you work on your clients, there was scientific research done already many years ago. I think Harvard or Princeton, one of those big universities, they wanted to figure out how the brainwave level activity of a professor affects the students. And what they found out was that after half an hour, there was an, how did I call it in English? I think entrainment, like intunement, where the brainwave level activity started syncing, S-Y-N-C-H. And that is also really important for us as reflexologists to know, that we come to the client in a place of relaxation, in a meditative state of mind, because they will tune into our brainwave level activity. And so I find that very important in my work. And also I train my students to really be conscious of that, so that, you know, and it affects you in your everyday life as you acquire these tools, because you're just more peaceful and more happy, have more clarity. And you also know that if you're not in a good place of mind, you might reschedule your clients just because you want to be, I want to touch my clients really being in the absolute best place. So that's important to understand. How many of you meditate? Everybody has obviously experience in meditation. Good. Okay, let's do this. All right, so just enjoy to lean back in your seat, and let's just take together a few deep breaths. We inhale and exhale easily. We breathe so easy to our abdomen. And just enjoy closing your eyes. As you close your eyes, you can look within, connect to your inner self, find inner peace, clarity, inner wisdom. You inhale and exhale easily. You breathe so easy to your abdomen. With every single breath you take, you become more calm and quiet, more calm and more relaxed. It's easy. You inhale and exhale easily. You breathe so easy to your abdomen. As you are now slowly sinking into a deeper relaxation, you become aware of the presence of a radiant, bright, shining ball of light right above your head. Beautiful sunshine coming from the highest level and serving your highest good. You feel the presence of the light, the peace and comfort it gives to you. Vibrant sunshine. Breathe it in. Feel it streaming through your lungs, filling your whole entire body. From the toes of your feet to the top of your head, just breathe in the light. As you exhale, you breathe out everything that does not serve you. Let go, being you, set yourself free. It's easy. You inhale and exhale easily. You breathe so easy to your abdomen. Exhale everything that does not serve you. Being you, let go, set yourself free. Your feet relax. are calm and quiet, filled with light and sunshine. Just feel the warmth, the peace, the deep relaxation. Your ankles relax, your lower legs and calves relax. Radiant sunshine enters every cell. Your knees relax, your upper legs relax. Breathe in the light, breathe out everything that does not serve you. Let go, be new. Feel your pelvis relax, your hips, lower abdomen, lower back, your reproductive organs. Radiant sunshine streams into every cell. It's easy to be new, to be free. Breathe out everything that does not serve you and feel the light streaming in. Feel your back and spine relax, your inner organs relax, your liver, gallbladder, spleen, kidneys, stomach, and intestines. You breathe in the sunshine, you breathe out everything that doesn't serve you. Memories and emotions you're holding on to, just let go, be new. You are completely healed right now. Every cell in your body functions the most perfect and divine way. It's easy. You are at peace. Feel your heart beat in a perfect and steady rhythm. Your lungs inhale and exhale easily. You breathe in the light. You breathe out everything that doesn't serve you. Breathe out everything that's on your chest, your heart, your center for love, self-love, and healing. And just feel the sunshine streaming in. It's easy. You are completely healed right now. It's easy. Every cell in your body functions the most perfect and divine way. It's easy. Your shoulders relax, your arms, hands to the tips of your fingers. You are at peace. Your awareness travels back to your shoulders. Now feel your throat and neck relax. Radiant sunshine streams into your throat, into your neck. And radiant light streams into your head, fills your brain, relaxes your face, relaxes your jaws, relaxes your eyes. You breathe in the sunshine, you breathe out everything that's on your mind. All thoughts that do not serve you, memories and emotions you're holding onto. Let go, be new, set yourself free. It is so easy to be new, to be free. Your mind is calm and clear. You are at peace. Every thought that enters your mind is inspired by the light, creates beauty, harmony, balance, and peace. And just recall now your absolute happiest memories, the most beautiful moments in your life. Happy moments of great bliss, joy, light, and happiness. You may travel back in time and space. Retrieve your happiest moments, your greatest joys, your biggest smiles. It is so easy. Whatever you focus upon, you receive more of. Connect to your happiest moments. Feel the smiles, the lights, the bliss, the joy, the happiness. So much to be grateful for. And now place your happiest moments inside your heart, your center for love, self-love, and healing. Your heart smiles, is so happy. It's so easy. Every cell in your body smiles, rejoices. You are completely healed. You're connected to the light above. Your heart smiles. Now let's bring your awareness to the base of your spine, your root center. Just notice how this area feels like, and then send beautiful, strong, and healthy roots from the base of your spine through your upper legs, through your knees, your lower legs, and your feet into the earth. With your inner eye, you so clearly feel your roots connecting you to our planet, growing deeper and deeper and deeper into the earth, finding their way through all the different layers of earth, reaching the core of our planet. And through your roots, you absorb beautiful, strong, and healthy earth energy, which you now feel climbing higher and higher, entering your body through your feet. Absorb beautiful, strong, and healthy earth energy through your feet. You can also imagine now a beautiful crystal cord connecting from the base of your spine to the core of our planet. Beautiful pulsating light streams from the earth through your spine to your crown and out to the heavens, and from the heavens back through your crown into your spine, out through the crystal cord into the earth. And just feel this pulsating energy back and forth and back and forth, and then being channeled through your heart chakra, through your heart, your center for love, self-love, and healing, through your arms into your hands, and from your hands into the feet, into the body, into the soul, and the consciousness of your client. It's so easy to administer beautiful healing light consciousness that comes from the highest level, beautiful earth energy. Your whole, balanced and complete, safe, secure, and protected. And now call in your beautiful ancestors. Your ancestors through whom you have received the gift of life. And that's all you needed to be here, to live your beautiful life. You now receive this gift of life fully, exactly the way it came to you. Your only task is to receive this gift, to say yes, exactly the way it came to you. And now envision your dad, your birth father, standing right behind you. He has comfortably placed his hand on your right shoulder. Your birth mother has comfortably placed her hand on your left shoulder. And just breathe. Feel their presence. Feel their support. You connect to their highest self at this very moment. Let go of all the stories of their earthly existence. If you carry something for them that's not yours to carry, you now give it back to them. It's not yours. It's easy. And breathe. Feel your connection to the earth, to the light above. Your whole balanced and complete, safe, secure, and protected, connecting now to your ancestors. You feel their gifts and talents stream from their hearts into your heart. You only take what is good, what is nourishing for you. Everything else you leave with them. It's not yours to carry. It's easy. And now behind your parents are your grandparents, your maternal and paternal grandparents. As you connect to this generation, just tell them, I'm your little grandchild. Thank you for the gift of life that I received through you. And then feel the love of your grandparents stream from their hearts into your parents' hearts, into your heart. And your only task is to receive this love, nothing else. Just receive this love which transcends time and space. And say yes. Receive the gift of life exactly the way it came to you. Behind your grandparents are your great-grandparents. And you now connect to this generation. Feel their presence, their strength, their support. Their gifts and talents. And now connect to the next generations, your great-grandparents, your great-great-grandparents. And slowly all the generations are stepping in, standing behind you. There are hundreds, eventually thousands of beautiful souls who walked this earth before you, who came together and gave the gift of life, which eventually came to you. And if you have children of your own, they go into your children and the future generations. And just breathe. Breathe in the love. Breathe in the gifts and talents you received through your ancestors. And everything that belongs to them, you leave it with them. Everything that's theirs to carry, you return it to them. It's not yours. And breathe. And breathe. You let go of the stories. Connect to the highest selves of your ancestors. You receive their love. And you see how this beautiful river of love begins to stream through all the generations, coming closer, reaching your grandparents, your parents. Their hearts are open gates of love, and this love now streams into your own heart. Just say yes and receive this love. That's all. Just say yes and receive this love and realize that you belong, that you are seen by your ancestors. And at this very moment, you are so infinitely loved. You feel your ancestors standing behind you. You feel their love. You feel your connection to the earth. You feel your open heart. You feel your connection to the light above. You are completely healed at this very moment and in the state of grace. You're honored. and privileged to touch another human being with love through your beautiful work. It's easy. And just breathe. Take it all in. Feel the connection to the earth. Feel your open heart. Feel the light above. Feel your ancestors behind you. You are at peace. You are love. And one of your beautiful ancestors now steps forward and delivers a beautiful gift to you. And just look at this beautiful ancestor. It may be someone you know or someone who lived many generations ago. Someone to whom you are connected through a bond of love. And look at this beautiful ancestor. Your heart is open. You feel so loved, and see your ancestor delivers a beautifully wrapped gift to you. A beautiful gift which comes with a gift card. And you now take this gift into your hands. Hold this gift. Express your gratitude to your beautiful ancestor. Say yes and thank you. Open the gift card. It's the most beautiful card you have ever seen. A wonderful card. Beautiful words of wisdom, love, and reassurance. You feel you just received the most beautiful gift, assuring your bright and brilliant future. And now open the gift, unwrap your gift. And you see it's the most beautiful gift you have ever received. The most magnificent gift in the world. And now look at all your beautiful ancestors. They are cheering you up, sending their love. And you now realize you truly belong. You are seen, and you are infinitely loved. Now and always. Say yes to receiving this beautiful gift. It's the most wonderful moment in time and space. And just enjoy this beautiful celebration now together with your wonderful ancestors. Such a magnificent moment in time and space. Easy. And breathe. And now easily and joyfully feel yourself again in your body. Stretch out a little bit. Stretch your hand, your feet, your arms, your legs. Connect to yourself. And slowly, whenever you feel ready, you may open your eyes again. Totally connect back to the here and now, the happiest moment in your life, bringing with you all the gifts you have received. Welcome back. How was it? Let's hear from a few of you. How did you experience this meditation? And imagine touching another human being from this place.
I would imagine it's much more powerful after that. Yeah, quite thought-provoking. Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Maria. Anybody else? Did you see your ancestors? Did you receive a gift? Let's hear from at least one more. Who is brave to share with us what you saw in your meditation?
Don't be shy. Come on.
Quantum healing. Thank you, Sarah. Very powerful. Thank you, Fiona.
No visuals, Dorit, just a presence that's extremely powerful. Thank you.
Good. Yeah, and not everybody has a visual. And also, once you have done this meditation, also share this with your clients. Bring it to your work. You know, the more of us do this, I mean, the more we move consciousness forward. So it's really important to be in these places. And of course, I always incorporate meditation and family constellation in my reflexology work, because also those are my trainings and my expertises, and also what I really love. I mean, I'm a meditator since age 15, and I came to all these questions and steps of higher consciousness and being on this spiritual path also because my childhood friend died at 15 of cancer. We grew up on neighboring farms in Germany's Lower Rhine Valley. We both had horses. I actually write about her in my book, and that's available on Amazon. And after she passed away, I had all these questions, and I did not receive my answers through church, through school, or from my parents. And my journey began with the questions, who am I? Where do I come from? What is my purpose? What is this life experience all about? And so I'm on this journey. I'm approaching my 60s in 2 years. So I'm on this journey for a really long time. And yes, so I love to share, obviously, what I've learned on my journey. And I think that's also really important to bring that to the healing work. And that's also why my passion, I work a lot with oncology patients, which I find is also really important when we deal with life-threatening situations. And yeah, but I hope this meditation opened a space for you where you can connect to something greater. And this meditation is also on my YouTube channel. So I have this book that's available on Amazon. And then if you go to my website, there are meditation links. And I think, Maria, you shared that. Or you can also go directly to my YouTube channel. That's Dorit Brauer. There's a meditation playlist on my website. There's meditation pharmacy. So check all of those out. I have a lot of free resources because I really feel if everybody would just meditate and everybody would do their own inner work, we would live in a very different world. And that's also why at this point, I find it so important to train people in the healing arts. So I work in a hospice and use guided meditation and relaxation. Thank you, Fiona. That's wonderful and very important. Yeah, and while I was guiding you through the meditation, I had another client case coming up, which I didn't have on my list for today, but I think that already might answer a lot of questions for some of you and some of the questions that were asked. So I will talk about this particular client. And that was pretty much at the beginning also of my career in Pittsburgh when I came to the US. As a reflexologist, you all know how well your work works for a certain ailment, how long it might take for somebody to get better. For me, an average is like, I mean, people should, oftentimes they feel already a difference after the first session, but a lasting difference, like after 5 sessions, if there are pain syndromes, like, you know, they feel a little bit more a light at the end of the tunnel. Things might get better. Frequency of pain might be a little bit less. So for me, it's usually 5 sessions once a week, like chronic pain or fibromyalgia. People start feeling an improvement. I had a client at the beginning of my career in the US who came to see me for migraine headaches. And at that point, she was in her 40s. And she had the migraine started during puberty. So with the hormonal changes, but also they accompanied her through her whole entire adult life. And sometimes they were really debilitating. She couldn't join family vacations, things like that. So she had tried everything and came to me when she was desperate. And I'm sure you have those cases too, where people have tried everything in the medical system, nothing's working, and then eventually they find you. So she was one of those cases. And after session 8 or 10, she wasn't really getting better. And I was baffled because in my experience, reflexology works really great for migraine headaches. So after session 8 or 9, I asked her, what's going on? Can you actually envision yourself without your migraine headaches? And she very adamantly burst out like, no, she couldn't envision herself without migraine headaches. And so, of course, how could she possibly get better if she didn't have a vision for a better health? So that's what I talk about a lot with clients, and that might answer some of the question in case where somebody was, what did we have here? Children conceived by rape. Or Maria, you mentioned somebody working with someone who is significant trauma. The question then would be like, does this define you? Is this your the stamp that they put on you for the rest of your life? Or can you imagine a completely different life story? And then I work with people with healing solutions and healing images, where we literally just start working on a different vision for their life. So the lady with the migraine headaches, it was like, how would your life look like if you didn't have your migraine headaches? And it was at 40 quite difficult because her whole life story was defined by migraine headaches from the time that she was a teenager. So it took a little while, and it took a little pushing from my side and really being on her case again and again, reevaluate. And so she came up with all these things that suddenly she could do because she wasn't suffering from migraine headaches. And her first real success was that she went on a family vacation with her family. You know, like a lot of American families, I don't know if you do that in Britain, Germans don't really do that, but in America, a lot of families go like with the whole entire family to the beach, like during the summer. So she was finally able to join and didn't have a migraine. So sometimes I feel with my healing work, I know how to push the right buttons on the feet, which organ systems to work on. But if the client's mindset is not set for, okay, I want to get better, then it's kind of really hard work, and it might be a lot of more difficult. So the client always, from my point of view, it's always a client who holds the key for healing. I have a lot of tools, trust me. I'm doing this for a really long time. But if the client doesn't get better, it's because it's something in the mindset. Does that make sense? Okay, and somebody's writing here. Let me see, visualization. And Fiona, thank you for your great feedback. I love it. I'm reading it aloud. Visualization was an important factor for me in recovery from breast cancer. You okay with me reading this? I think everybody can see this. Yeah, and was encouraged by my oncologist. It was this experience that led me to train as a reflexologist. Wonderful. Thank you for sharing your story. Yes. I think if we would just all get together and like share our stories, how we became reflexologists, it would be absolutely fascinating. I mean, so thank you for sharing. And let's see, any thoughts, questions that I can answer for you right now?
I do have a technical question. I can't seem to, I can put something into the chat, but I can't seem to read the chat. I'm not used to Teams, so I don't seem to be getting messages from other people, although I can put something in, just occasionally.
Yeah, you know what? I see, I'm also new to Microsoft Teams, but I see if you go on the top bar, it says chat next to the attendance of people. And if you click on chat, the chat should open up. That's from what I see on my screen, but
Okay.
I'm not an expert
I'm
on
not.
Microsoft
I'm not. I think I might delete myself out of the conversation completely if I start to play. So I'm just going to leave that. Thank you.
Okay. All righty. Let's see. So let's see where we are.
Dorit, you
Yes.
were saying that you don't speak to the client. You go into a meditation and it's alpha waves and what have you, but you obviously have a little chat beforehand.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but you don't sort of dig a little deeper to see if there are any barriers before you start, or you just see how things unfold.
Yes, thank you, Maria, for that question. No, my clients have to fill out a very comprehensive medical questionnaire. It's 6 pages, and they fill out a resilience questionnaire. And I will, towards the end, I will tell you also what I'm looking for specifically in a client to understand how open they are to healing, how ready they are for the next step, or also how much resistance they have, because that's also really important to understand. Some clients might have resistance to healing. And one of my worst cases that I sometimes share, and so I use this moment, it's not on my list for my talk, but I will share that too. And here we have somebody sharing a document. I don't know how that happened. So anybody who's familiar with Microsoft, please take care of that. Thank you. So oftentimes, people, our clients love to buy gift certificates for their loved ones. They feel reflexology helps them, and they want to share this gift also with their loved ones, especially holidays, Christmas. People love buying gift certificates. I had one client, a whole family actually kind of saw me for reflexology, and they all thought this one family member could use my services. And she was dealing with some significant health issues. And when I did the intake with her, I asked her right off the bat, like, okay, let's create a vision for you getting better. And she said right away, no, I cannot get better. My husband will leave me when I get better. So that is, I mean, in my 30-year career, I've only heard this one single time. And when I worked at the University of Pittsburgh Medical Center, we also worked with workman's comp cases, which eventually would go to court. And we worked with teams of people on patients. So they would receive acupuncture, EMDR with Dr. David Servan-Schreiber, which still was new at that time in the US. Massage, chiropractic treatment. So as a practitioner, you oftentimes get a sense when somebody starts getting better, but because we're dealing with court cases, oftentimes I didn't want to admit that they were getting better. So, I mean, these are my 2 examples, when somebody has a benefit from not really getting better. I mean, there are other complex scenarios, but we don't need to get into that here. And that's very individual. And it's most definitely not the majority of people that we see for our work. Because if people come to us, especially if they pay out of pocket, they are ready to shift. They're ready to heal. They want something to happen, because otherwise they wouldn't be finding us. I mean, that's in most cases, right? Anyhow, we, goodness. There's so much, and we only have like 45 minutes left. So let's see, where do I continue? Maria, in our conversation, we had a very brief talk also about grounding. Yeah, you asked me to speak to grounding. I do incorporate grounding. And actually, when I do reflexology, also as I'm now in my talk, I have my bare feet on a grounding mat. I love being connected to the electric magnetic field of the earth. New scientific research is happening about the benefits of earthing and grounding. It's a requirement actually for my graduates to submit an 1 month grounding protocol where they're, and it's in the summer months in Pittsburgh. When we did this 30 years ago in Israel, it was for 3 months, and it was really easy because every day you can walk barefoot at the beach. So we cannot do that in Pittsburgh. So I require a 1 month grounding protocol. And that is also really simple because, I mean, we're connected. We are from the earth. life begins and ends with the earth. And if we look at the disconnect of modern society, it's also because everybody's so disconnected from earth. In the 1950s, synthetic materials were introduced, and also synthetic soles of the shoes. And so people started disconnecting from the electromagnetic field of the earth. And I think in the material, Maria, that you shared, there were the 3 articles, one also about earthing. It's really interesting because there seems to be this big hype and this revival. Oh my God, we can connect to the earth, but it's very ancient healing. And pretty much all of our ancestors, if you're like my age, our parents, they were all connected to the earth because the synthetic materials were only introduced in the 1950s. So, and sometimes I also recommend to my clients to practice earthing. Doesn't work for everybody, but I had a few that just sent me this summer, like their bare feet, pictures of their bare feet at the beach. I'm like, yay, that's a success. So, and there is so much more to be said about that. And I think nowadays you can even find earthing mats online. I create my own ones just with a copper mesh metal sheet. And so they're really simple. See it? So it's just a copper mesh, right? It's copper, C-O-P-P-E-R. And then in Britain, I don't know how your electricity plugs are, but in the US, we have the electricity plug that goes into the earthing plug. So I have that plugged in, and that's how I'm connected to the electromagnetic field of the earth, and you automatically absorb antioxidants and reduces inflammation. And also when I administer reflexology, through me being connected to the electromagnetic field of the earth, my clients also are. And then of course I also do the meditation. Okay. Much more we can say about that, but I still have a few more client cases. And I truly feel also as a holistic reflexologist, we are, or as a reflexologist, we are the mediator between the human and the earth. And again, I only work on the feet. I know there are different modalities where people also work on the hands, facial reflexology. I only work on the feet. And also, it's the only part of the body where we can touch both feet simultaneously, which means we can really bring the human being like to the middle. Does that make sense? And another thing I do, I work on both feet simultaneously. So I work on them separately if I hit specific reflex points, but I also do a lot of harmonic work, which then allows the brain waves to sync. S-Y-N-C-H. Okay. All right. Client cases. Okay. So we talked about the left and the right side of the body. Right side is the father, left side is the mother. I just scheduled a client. I saw her many, many years ago. I mean, we all had our COVID break. And then we had to restructure our business. So we all went through that. We had to shut down our business. I, in that time, focused my business on teaching online meditation classes, and I relaunched my art career. And so, but now I'm back to being mostly a full-time reflexologist. But anyhow, this is a client I saw many, many years ago. Way before COVID, and she just scheduled her session. I'll see her next week, and she is facing left ankle surgery, and she wanted to see me before her surgery. So I already did part of the medical intake over the phone, but the moment she said left ankle surgery, I said to her immediately, how is the relationship to your mother and to your mother-in-law? Can you imagine why I asked that? Left side of the body, it's a mother. If somebody's married, also the mother-in-law. Sometimes there are difficult relationships. And the moment I asked that question, she went on to a rant that I had to like rein in and stop it. but anyhow, it's on both sides horrible, couldn't be worse. She started retracing stories of when her children were born, and they're now 28 and 30. So she's carrying these narratives for like 30 years. The anger, the resentment. And you know, we all get angry, but the moment your anger exceeds 15 minutes, like if you're triggered, somebody triggers you, after 15 minutes, it's entirely on you. Because you make the choice if you want to stay angry or not. And in holistic medicine, the emotions we need to take most care of are fear, anger, and worry. And those are also the emotions that I work with my clients to reduce them. Fear is the emotion that, according to Chinese medicine, sits in the kidneys or is located in the kidneys. Fear, anxiety, worry, excessive worry harms the spleen. And then anger, of course, is the liver. And the liver is the biggest organ in our body. It's a chemical laboratory. I mean, it's really important to have like healthy organs. And they are affected by our emotions. And so it's really important to eliminate that. So I said I would see her next week. And what I said to her, so it was confirmed. Also, we look at the body parts in holistic medicine. Anything with legs is moving forward, right? Anything with digestion, like which emotional aspects can we not digest in our lives? If you go onto my Brauer Institute website, one of the blog posts is called The Language of the Organs. Use that as a resource. I've written a lot of articles over the years. Take a look at them. Be inspired by them. If you have a question, send me an email. I'll be happy to answer. I'm just grateful to connect to fellow reflexologists and fellow professionals because there are not that many in Pittsburgh, except of my graduates. So yeah, so left ankle, that's like moving forward. And then sure enough, when I asked her about this, she also said leading up to the surgery, she had 12 different injuries to the left ankle. Her physical therapist, it's a really weak ankle. Yeah, but it's, you know, it's weak because there's a consistent nourishment of something really negative in someone's life. So when I'm going to work with her, I'm also going to work on like crossing, for example, the bridge into your brilliant future, which is also on my YouTube. There's a bridge in your brilliant future, and there you leave really the past behind. So you're invited to check that out. And let me take a quick look at the chat. Somebody cannot see all the chat. I apologize. I don't know Microsoft Teams, so I don't know how that happens. And Dorit, do you think working on both feet simultaneously would help with multiple sclerosis? Absolutely. I think it would help with everybody to bring them into the center. And when I work simultaneously, I call it harmonic work. I start at the heels. I work with lotion on my feet, and I just do kind of like a circular movement, kind of like what you see in my paintings, right? Circular movement, and then work my way up. So heel, earth element, all the inner organs are in the water element, fire element, heart and lungs. And then the toes I do individually, and I grab in from the top with lotion. And that's also where we have all the cranial nerves. So try this out and see how this can serve you. It's fast because I watched a little bit. I sometimes watch YouTube videos because I love to see what everybody else is doing. And there's so many different methods of reflexology because there are also so many different cultures. And I think what's most important is what we can learn from each other. But when I structure a reflexology session, I have an energy medicine protocol where we start from the knees, and I have a stretching protocol. Then we do some harmonic work. And also when you touch with both hands, the feet simultaneously, you can pick up information that you can't when you touch the foot individually. So you can, as you do the harmonic work, you can already pick up like what's going on with the kidney reflexes, left, right, is there a difference? You can notice like sensible differences in the skin texture, a sense of resistance. and so forth. So, make sense? All right.
Sorry,
Okay, so
when you say about the skin texture, what differences would that mean to you? So if say on the left foot it would be rougher than on the right foot, would that mean anything, or does it matter where on the foot it is as well as?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And that's again very individual, but usually if we have calluses, we want to look that the calluses are more in the heel area because that's the earth element. And that is the part that should actually be a little bit more callous. So if I find a client who has extremely soft skin, that is like where you can just like press in and it's really soft in the earth element, that is somebody who might also lack a little bit of grounding, you know, so they need more as they walk through life. They just need to be a little bit more connected to the earth, also feeling safe and secure. But I can read that through touching all the different points. So, I mean, it's really, we are multidimensional, such complex human beings. And when I meet a client and they see me once a week, I get a tiny little snippet of something, you know, if they're in their 40s or their 50s, all that history. And what I try to do is I just try to pick up what's most essential in the present moment in time and space to move them forward to the next better place. And I also always, when I do the medical intake with them, ask what would be a good outcome for our work together, because then that gives me an idea for the intention of their work. And so if you go on the Brauer Institute to my client testimonials, it's really interesting because I had clients who came to me for plantar fasciitis, and then suddenly all kinds of other things that they didn't even report started going away. You know, like, oh, the stomach ache disappeared, or my appetite changed, or, you know.
But that's why we love our work.
I know, it's magical. And I love also being in these meditative places. Like if I'm really clear, I meditate, I start every day with meditation. I meditate every morning. I also do a world healing meditation every morning just to send love to the world. I work a lot with intention, you know, also asking clients, what's your intention? That can be really helpful. So you already have a dialogue where you connect to them on a higher level. I had a new client the other day. He does have a number of health problems, but the whole entire session, it felt like I was in this ancient Gothic cathedral and monks were chanting like for an hour. And I was just in awe. And so I shared just a little bit. I'm like, I don't know, maybe in another lifetime you were a monk. And he's like, oh. So I have to be careful how far I push it, but he was very open and it felt like such a sacred experience. And so that also tells me for me, it's easy to work on a client. The potential for healing is really great. And sometimes you can have clients where you just know there's a little bit more resistance. It doesn't flow so easy. They're stuck in their patterns. They don't want to make a big quantum leap or a big change. And then the task is like, okay, I just want to make you feel great. And maybe if you're in a more loving place, you won't have a fight with your husband tonight, and you have a nice dinner together with your kids. And then it's a great, that's a great result. So every human being is different. We meet people where they are and see what we can create for them. Make sense? All right, more. I have a little bit more for you. So in my work and the way that I was trained in Israel, fear, anger, and worry are the emotions that do create the greatest havoc in our lives. We can see them through the sensitivities of the kidney reflexes, spleen reflexes, liver reflex, and there's also a 3 meridian point. It's an acupuncture point. It's called spleen 6. And so through touching those points, I know to read the emotions. And, you know, we have the whole piece of the puzzle, the medical intake, the conversation with the client. But the goal of my work is to always teach people to eliminate those emotions. Ideally, they meditate in between sessions. I give them evolving consciousness assignments. So I really want them to be part of their own healing process, if that's what they want. Okay, more client cases. Where did I put them? Okay, what's also really interesting when we do work with people is families, if we have the privilege to work with a whole family. And here in Pittsburgh, we have a lot of families with like 4 or 5 siblings. And over the years, I really had the joy to work with a lot of families and also siblings. And it's fascinating. And please chime in if you had that experience too. If you work with siblings, you read their feet, you get an understanding about their personality, and you also know a little bit about their lives. And so I had one of my cases was fascinating. There were 4 siblings, all born pretty close to each other, 1.5 years, 2 years apart. And the first 3 exactly the same feet, exactly in the same professions. 2 were in finance, 1 was a school teacher, and I saw them pretty regularly. They all had the same hair color, the same build. I mean, and the feet were like identical. It was like mind-blowing. And then the youngest sister lived out of town, and she got a gift certificate to see me. And when I saw her feet, they looked completely different. I mean, and different life story. She was an artist, lived a very different life. Fire element, a little bit bigger. So that's a self-expression and also like the artsy part of the personality. So that was really fascinating. And that is also a lot of joy in our work when you can see that, because again, it's a privilege to get insights into people's life, and it makes, you know, yeah, it's just beautiful. I love it. Anyhow, another case that I wanted to share with you that Maria and I talked about, which also wasn't part of this particular ancestral strength talk, but since we had it in our conversation, you asked me to speak to that. So what I also look at as a reflexologist is the client's feet, but I also look at their shoes. And I had a client many years ago, and he became my art collector because he didn't need me after I tell you the story for reflexology anymore. But anyhow, he came, he lay on my table. I look at his feet. They are like super white, fire element. That's lungs, heart. You know, that part of the foot. Where's my little foot? So fire element is like this upper part of the foot, right? Where the metatarsals and phalanges meet. Was really, really white. I looked at his shoes and I'm like, okay, I think those shoes are way too small. Anyhow, I gave him a nice session and then I sent him off to a store here in Pittsburgh. We have a runner shoe store and they measure the feet. And now they even take the mapping via computer and they give you the exact results about shoe size, width, and everything. And so he got his feet measured, and sure enough, the shoes he was wearing were too small. He had to order a double wide shoe. The moment he got the new shoes, the foot pain was gone. And so that is also really important to understand. Like I always look at people's shoes and their footwear to see what's going on. Of course, I feel I get really like, well, I have to be careful with my wording. When little girls are wearing high heels, I think that's not very good. In Germany, for children and young children, we have the Elefantenschuhe. They're called like the elephant shoes, like for kids, and they're actually made of leather and they're really wide so the feet can develop. So I always cringe when I see young children or young girls wearing heels. We know how that affects everything, also the skeletal development. So that's scary. But another few sentences to this particular client with extra wide feet. So when I look at the feet and read them, I also look at a person's talents. And if somebody has a really wide fire element area, and sorry, I don't want to get sidetracked. I'm going to look at the chat in a second. If somebody has a really wide fire element area, that means the person has very expressive part of this personality. Like they need to be among people, they need to perform. And this gentleman, he had earth element, very strong earth element, so he was thoroughly grounded, and then a very wide fire element, hence the extra wide shoes. And in his professional career, his entire life, he worked in a cubicle. And so that would be the opposite of the talents he had. So I also asked him to look at what he could do to express himself a little bit more. And since he was only 2 years away from retirement, it was not the time to change careers. If you would have been a 20-year-old, I would have said, okay, well, maybe you want to try a career or look somewhere where you can really fully express yourself. With this gentleman, it was clear he would do his career for another 2 years. But in the meantime, he incorporated like going more to the theater, see people expressing himself. He joined a choir. And so started expressing that fire energy that needed to come out. And so that is also really fascinating when we look at reading the feet. Another thing I want to talk about also, we have 20 more minutes, is the unfolding of the timeline in a client's medical history. And please chime in. You may have noticed that as well. I've seen this so many times over the course of my career that people, the moment they hit an age where an ancestor passed away, sibling passed away, or a parent passed away, when they reach or approach that age, usually 2 years prior, they start developing health problems. Have you seen, I'm sure you've seen that. And that is literally because they have this enormous fear. And here we go back to the origin of where I say it's important to teach people to eliminate fear, anger, and worry. And so here's this enormous fear. Okay, my dad passed away. I had a client that was before COVID. His dad passed away in his early 50s. And as he was approaching that age, he started developing serious health issues in the lung area. And he had to have a few surgeries. And then like the moment he hit the dad's age and lived half a year after, all the health problems disappeared. So that is pure consciousness. And as a reflexologist, we need to be aware of that. I've even seen a case where a woman developed at the same age, her mother developed a cancer. She developed the exact same cancer as her mother-in-law. So it even, if you marry into a family system, you're in that energy field consciousness, in the expectation of the family soul. So this is really huge. And I mean, a lot of the things that we talk about here also, they're not investigated in the scientific environment. They're not talked about in the world of medicine and science. I think what we look at with cancer care now, I see a shift and a higher consciousness where people do understand the body-mind connection. And just like Fiona, you said you were taught by your oncologist to meditate. That's fantastic. There's a book by is it Dr. Turner, Radical Remission? She's a physician, an oncologist who investigated client cases who miraculously healed from cancer. And yes, we also have those cases. And for every single one of them, in a way, they turned their life around. They practiced some type of spirituality, changed also physical things like nutrition, for example. But that is also part of the work that I do when I work with oncology patients, is really looking, you know, this is not easy. It's very profound. How will your life change after this? Because we cannot find healing from the place of the same place that created the disease. So that's why consciousness is so important. Let me take a quick look at the chat. What do you say to people who walk on the outer edge of their feet? Well, it's the answer would be very general, because I actually would have to see those feet. But that is also the question is, if they walk on the edge of their feet, are there calluses? That would tell me for how long has it been going on. And then also, how are they touching the earth? And also the edge of their feet, if you mean like this way. So 5th metatarsal edge. Okay, Sarah, that was your question. 5th metatarsal edge. So that is also water element. And that also means a little bit like damming the water in, like creating a dam, right? And fear.
That makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
Yeah. And again, I cannot say that fully because I haven't seen those feet. We always need to look at whom do the feet belong to.
It makes a lot of sense with the person. So thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what about, sorry, what about somebody having a very dry, hard skin on the outer bit of their toes, means towards the outer, big toes?
Yeah, outer, like here?
No, big toe. So maybe,
okay,
yeah, somewhere here, and it's a very hard skin. What does that mean?
Okay, I want to be a little bit careful, because it's very individual to the person. But any hard skin in the toe area, that's not where it belongs. The hard skin, calluses, if it's in the earth element, the heel,
Yeah.
that is perfectly fine.
Okay.
Calluses often also mean defenses. But then it also depends on how the person walks. But if we have calluses like in the toes, because obviously,
toes also, I mean, toes also, it sort of touches the ground, right?
yes. So metaphysically, it's like a hardening of, I want to be careful with the words, because again, you know, the moment we have a word that we put out there and it's not the right word. And what I've also noticed, I speak German, English, and Hebrew. Like I translated my study material from Hebrew to English.
Yes.
And sometimes it's difficult to relate or translate certain concepts into the mentality of a different culture. Because Israel, where I studied, it's a very different culture than the American culture. In Germany, where I come from, that's a whole different culture. And I'm sure you know that as well.
Yes.
With the cultures you have in your lineage with your ancestors. So here we're talking about perception of reality. But if we have the earth element in the toes, it has to do with a mental, analytical challenge. But the earth element absolutely does not belong here. And that also shows a hardening. So that could be a very opinionated person, somebody who really stands up. In the US right now, we have the elections and everybody has their opinion and everybody's right. At the same time, you look at how much people are suffering just because of that. So somebody who would have like really hard skin here, that would be somebody who really wants to stand by his opinion.
Yes, I mean, it's true, because who I know, similar character.
But again, we're not generalizing here. We need to be really careful with generalizing, because every human being is different, and it might be, you know, in that case, I would also be interested, why do we have that skin there? And also, what defense mechanism does it serve the person? Like, what are they protecting themselves from, or what are they protecting? And here it goes back to the ancestry. And the moment we do that, we have the much bigger picture. And that moment, we just look at every human being, and it's like, whatever they carry, whatever they express, whatever their opinions are, our only task is to come with a wholehearted yes. And also humility, you know, I mean, Maria, we said that in the conversation. I mean, if you touch people's feet for a living, you have to be a humble person. Nobody else would do this work. I mean, I feel it's a very different way of going through life, like doing this particular work, you know. So it's interesting, but I want to 10 minutes. I want to add a few really important things finally that also tie in with the energetic connection or energetic protections that we talked about previously, and also with regards to the meditation. You know, when you do the meditation and you work on your client and you feel you're connected metaphysically through roots to the earth, or with an earthing mat, which I like, you're connected to the earth, you're connected to the light above. You can literally imagine this ball of light above your head. You can put yourself in a bubble of light. The article, Maria, that Maria shared with you, The Art of Energetic Protection, also includes releasing statements from the systemic family constellation work. Like, I leave it with you. Whatever is yours is yours. I'm not carrying it for you. I give it back to you with love. It's your responsibility, not mine. But one of the things that I always look for with clients, and I try to get that question in the first sessions, is, how is your relationship to your mother? Any guesses why? Yes, we get the gift of life from our mom, through our mom, and through our dad. But why do I ask specifically about the mom? Because if a client has a horrible or really bad relationship to their mom, they will project the caretaking job from their mom onto their reflexologist or massage therapist or doctor, whoever they see, counselor, psychologist. If somebody has a bad relationship to their mother and they feel they didn't get from their mom what they didn't get from their mom, they look for everywhere else in the world. And that is a job that is not our job. My job is not to mother my clients. And you can also see that people who have a difficult relationship to their mom might turn out to be more needy clients, more difficult clients, the clients who call you at all hours, or the clients who change their appointments, or the clients, when you open your mailbox in the morning, there are 3 new emails with questions. You know who they are, right? You're a reflexologist, you have those clients. And so my job is to connect them to their mom. My job is to work on their reflexes on their feet and to strengthen the left and the right kidney and the balance. And my job is then to tell them, make a list of 30 things you love about your mom. And my clients do that because I'm doing this for 30 years. So I also I've seen a lot of clients, and I'm not always entirely patient when I can see a good outcome and they're not doing the work. So I'll be on their case. Okay, did you make the list of the 30 things you love about your mom? No. Okay, you have 2 more sessions to see me. If you don't bring the list, then you might have to see me for meditation or another service, but I will not give you reflexology. Deadlines sometimes work as well. And then once people do this work, though, I mean, it opens their heart. I don't want them to project onto me. They have their mom. I have my mom that I get my love from. And that brings us to another subject. Also, as a holistic practitioner or a reflexologist, you want to be fully resourced. You want to be in a place like that place I created for you in the meditation. You want to know your place of belonging is with your family of origin. That's your birth parents, your birth grandparents, great grandparents, your blood lineage. That's your place of belonging. That's where love comes from. And if you didn't get the love from your parents, or not even from your grandparents, and you might not know them, your great grandparents, they're all on the other side. You call them in, they will speak to you. You can feel them. Do my ancestral strength meditation before you go to sleep. It's on my YouTube channel. Scroll down the meditation playlist, Ancestral Strength Meditation. Feel free to share it with your clients. If you don't want to do this because you're not familiar with the work, you can tell them, try out this meditation, and then have feedback with them. You know, but open that door. And so when I teach reflexology, so it's 50 lessons, it's 200 classroom hours, and 300 hours altogether, 100 home study hours, which in the US is the highest level, but there's so much more to teach. But my graduates are immediately eligible to become professional reflexology members of the Reflexology Association of America. So basically, it's the highest level in the US. Yet again, we know there's so much more to learn. But between lesson 1 and 10, I have designed the training that they do a lot of inner work and that they understand these principles and find their resource with their family of origin, so that also as a practitioner, they're not projecting their own neediness for a mother on their reflexology clients. Because we also find that in our work. And then you have a lot of stories, a lot of codependency, where the practitioner needs the client, where the client needs the practitioner, and no real healing can happen because everybody's looking for love through this work. So I have my students evaluate within the first 10 lessons, like, why do they want to do this work? And then we have these amazing stories like, you know, Fiona, for you, like you survived the disease and you found tools that helped you and then you wanted to learn it. Like I do this, I love people. I mean, I genuinely love people. I think the human experience is absolutely phenomenal. And to have the privilege to touch people, to have insights about their lives, I mean, it can only be humbling and it's an honor. And so many professions, it's like cookie cutter. Imagine being a physician and to really be passionate about healing, but you're within a system that only allows you 10 minutes with a client or a patient. You don't have the time to ask them, how's your marriage? What happened 5 years before the onset of your disease? Ask your clients what happened in your life before you got sick. In holistic medicine, it's always like a 5-year factor. You will see a lot of people know why they are sick. Like either a trauma happened, somebody died, somebody got laid off from work, a financial disaster. And then I see that a lot with college kids leaving home. And then 2 years after they're in college, suddenly they have migraines or digestive disorders. I think nowadays you see a lot of digestive disorders. I haven't seen that many digestive disorders like 26 years ago when I came here. And some of it is also nutritionally related. But so ask your clients, like, what was going on in your life before? And then we create a healing vision. okay, so what would be a good outcome for our work together, and how does your life look like when you're in a better place? Maria, you're muted. I didn't hear you.
Just say, you make it sound very simple, but when you think it through, it's just logical, isn't it?
Yeah.
The mind has so much effect on the body. And I think the problem with traditional medicine is it doesn't take the mind into account. It just treats symptoms, whereas we have to treat holistically. Our jobs are better.
Yeah.
I think we've nearly used up all our time. Any questions before we let Dorit escape?
Yeah, I saw from Birgit about the banyan. So that's an expanded fire element, and that also has to do with looking for love in a way, and also feeling more security. And that's very often also genetic. So with banyans, I really look at the ancestral line, and I do have a great example, but that would take us another 10 minutes for me to talk about it, because we really look at the lineage and the aunts and uncles and a great grandfather who had the exact same feet as a client, and they have the exact same pattern going on in their lineage. But to say just a little bit, their incredible intellectual abilities. There's Jewishness in the lineage. There's prosecution in the lineage. And in this client's case, what happens with the banyan, it's turning to the second toe. So that means intellectual properties are like not shown or hidden. And then the fire element, it's really big and expanded. So there is like also this wanting to be loved, if that makes sense. That is one case. I mean, there are more. And then what Sarah, this has been so interesting. I've done some family constellation work. Yay! But it never occurred to me to include it in my reflexology. Yes, please. And if you have any further questions, oh, Sarah, that's you right there. Hi. Yeah, well, thank you so much. I hope this was interesting to you. I mean, I'm fascinated by this work every day. I continuously learn, continue to study. I'm part of an international family constellation network. I have incredible teachers that I continue to study with. And I love being connected to fellow reflexologists. Yeah, maybe one day I'll stop by in England.
You must.
Last year I flew through Heathrow, so next time I'll come, I'd stop and visit some of you, and
we'd make you welcome.
And I hope this is the beginning of a like new dialogue. And thank you so much for having me.
Oh, thank you for doing this. It's been really, really interesting. And I think we've touched on several things that I think many of you would like to go into more depth with. Send me your feedback. You know how to get in touch with me or Philippe, and I can pass questions on to Dorit for you, or we can get her in to discuss something in particular that you would all like. So, but I've had a wonderful evening and you've been absolutely fascinating. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye for now. Take care.
Bye. Thank you.